Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Economics. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing good. We are back with the second part of our 9708 topic 4. We'll be looking at the causes and consequences of economic growth today. Now, in the first part, we discussed what do we mean by economic growth and how was economic growth calculated, and we referred to the two key terms that were real GDP and nominal GDP, and we also looked at how to calculate the real GDP, right? We looked at the GDP deflator. Now, in this second part, we'll be looking at how economic growth affects an economy, what are the benefits, what are the costs of economic growth, and how can an economy actually achieve economic growth. In the first scenario, we'll be looking at how does an economy achieve economic growth, provided that the economy is producing somewhere inside the PPC. So if the economy has spare capacity, that means it already has unused stocks or it has unemployed labor. It has factors of production that has not been put into use. So it can utilize the spare capacity and actually provide more of goods and services. So if there exists a spare capacity in an economy, so output would be increasing. Why? Because there would be an increase in aggregate demand. So this means that consumer confidence will rise and consumer would be spending more, leading to an increase in aggregate demand. Or it could also be that the government expenditure might be increasing, right? So when the government expenditure increases, aggregate demand would be rising, right? Or it could be that interest rate falls, so it would give people the opportunity to spend more rather than be saving. So they will be spending, right? Or there could be a fall in taxes, giving people more of disposable income, right? It would also encourage firms to expand because there has been a drop in both the taxes and the interest rate. So they would employ more of factors of production, thereby increasing the level of output. So now, if there exists a spare capacity in the economy, how could that be represented by way of a graph and by way of a PPC curve? Now, if an economy already had spare capacity, this means it was somewhere at point X initially. The vertical axis can show the quantity of goods, and the horizontal axis would show the quantity of services. M means millions, right? It's a unit. So if you were initially at a point X, now since more of goods and services produced, so now the economy moved from point X to point Y. What happened in terms of aggregate demand curves and aggregate supply curve? You see, initially AD was aggregate demand curve and aggregate supply curve, according to Keynesians, is initially it's in a curve form and later it gets a straight line, right? It's perfectly inelastic in the longer term. Once all the factors of production are being employed, it would be impossible to increase your goods and services. That means the economy would be operating at full capacity, right? Now, if there would have been an increase in aggregate demands, the entire curve would shift towards the right. So initially, the aggregate demand curve was AD, and the new curve is AD1. What happened? The price level rose from P to P1, and the real GDP also rose from Y to Y1, right? Now, but if the economy wants a sustained economic growth, so although the productive capacity is increasing, but we should also be having an increase in aggregate supply. Then only you can say that the economy would be having an economic growth in sustained meaning, right? So how can you achieve sustained economic growth? There are two ways. Either you improve the quality of the goods and services or you increase the quantity of the resources. How? How can we achieve an improvement in the quality of factors of production. Now, how many factors of production do we have? Four: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So, for each of the factors of production, can you think of ways of improving the quality of each? How can you improve upon the quality of the factor, labor, and entrepreneur? By giving them more training, education, or improving their healthcare, right? So, this would improve the quality of entrepreneurship and labor both. If we talk about capital, how would we bring an improvement or advancement in capital? By deploying better technology, we can bring an advancement in capital, right? So the better technology we use, the more high tech capital we would be having, right? Plus, what about the land? Can you improve the quality of the land? Yes, maybe by using automation or by using better irrigation facilities, right? Or maybe by using better fertilizers, we can improve the quality of land if you're talking about the crops, right? So, if you've improved the quality of the factors of production, then an economy can experience sustained economic growth. Now, if we want to represent this graphically, again, using a PPC and an aggregate demand and a supply curve in the long term, how can you do that? Now, the entire PPC shifts outwards, right? So now we are not supposing that the firm had unused capacity, right? The firm was already, the economy was already on its full capacity, right? It was on its PPC. It was on any point on the PPC initially. And now, since there has been an improvement in the quality of the factors of reduction, the entire PPC shifted outwards, making it possible for the economy to produce higher combinations of both consumer and capital goods. So now it will be able to produce more of both consumer goods and capital goods. So it could be on any point on the new PPC, right? So from PPC 1, it went to PPC 2. The entire PPC shifted outwards. That means now the people of that country would be able to enjoy more of both consumer goods and capital goods, right? How can it be represented graphically in terms of long run aggregate supply curve and aggregate demand curve? So now, if the aggregate demand curve was AD, now since there has been an improvement, the long run aggregate supply curve increased from LRAS, shifted outwards towards the right, to long run aggregate supply curve 1, right? So now you'll be producing at Y1. Now what happened? Now both of these diagrams are showing what? That yes, there has been an increase in the productive capacity of the economy. In the first diagram, the PPC shifted outwards towards the right, depicting that the economy can now produce more of both consumer and capital goods. And similarly, aggregate demand curve diagram also displays that there has been a shift in the long run aggregate supply curve, showing that the firms are now producing more of the goods and the services. But there's a twist. And what's that? That for the economy, or for the productive capacity that has been experienced by the economy to lead to actually higher levels of output, this increase has to be capitalized. Although, yes, the aggregate supply is increasing, but notice there was no change in the aggregate demand. So, if whatever the increase in the productive capacity has been there, you need to capitalize on that. And how can you do that? That both the productive capacity and the output must increase, right? That means that yes, the aggregate demand also increased from AD to AD1, and the long run aggregate supply also moved from long run aggregate supply to long run aggregate supply 1, causing you to produce more of output from Y to Y1. But now I've got a question. Yes, you've capitalized because both the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply has increased, right? But is the economy producing, is it producing or maximum, or can it produce more? Is it producing as much as it was its productive capacity, or is it still producing less than its maximum productive capacity? It's producing less than its productive capacity. Why? Because the aggregate demand curve is meeting the long run aggregate supply curve at this section. If you want the economy produce the maximum, the long run aggregate demand curve must meet the long run aggregate supply curve on this vertical part. Then you can say that the economy is producing its maximum. Then we can say that it's fully utilizing its productive capacity. Why? Because the vertical line shows what? That it's perfectly inelastic, right? That means that yes, all the factors of production are fully employed. Get the twist? All right. What about the PPC? Yes, you were somewhere here at X, and now you are producing at point Y, right? Still, it's showing inefficiency, underutilization of resources. Why? Because you're producing less than your potential. Here also, you're producing less than your potential because the aggregate demand curve is not cutting the aggregate supply curve at the vertical part of the curve. All right. Now, what are the costs and benefits of economic growth? That means that yes, the economy is able to produce more of goods and services, but there must be some cost, right? What could that be? First, it's the opportunity cost. You see, in order to increase particular goods and services, resources must be taken from the production. There must be movement away from the production of certain goods, right? So this means in the short run, there will be a switch away from the reduction in the particular goods and services production. So the consumption of those goods would be falling. So the current consumption would be falling, right? It could also be that in order to produce more goods and services, the labor must be putting in more hours of work. That means more working hours and less of leisure. So leisure time given up, it could be, maybe it could be leading to more stress or levels of anxiety, right? Both experienced by the entrepreneurs and the labor, right? Or if the economy is a dynamic economy, so this means that structural changes might be occurring. That means it could be that some industries might be closing, right? And some industries might be opening, setting up. So labor would then have to be trained because not everybody would be that adaptive, right? So it could be that the economy is growing, right? So it might be undergoing certain structural changes. Some industries might be growing, might be expanding, some might be declining. So the labor has to learn new skills, or it has to be that receptive, right? So it might have to increase its geographical mobility as well, or its occupational mobility, right? So labor might find it difficult to cope with certain changes, right? And as a result, these working hours or the changes in this job set skills might be putting in more stress or leading to higher levels of anxiety, right? It could also be that this economic growth is actually experienced at a cost of depletion of natural resources, right? And we might be utilizing resources at a rate which might not be possible to be renewed, right? Maybe we are using non-renewable resources that is leading to depletion of natural resources, right? Or it could also be that economic growth is being experienced at a cost of increasing higher levels of pollution. So you are actually increasing the negative externalities. The society is bearing that cost. You are damaging the environment. However, what could be the benefits? What are the merits of this economic growth? More goods and services, higher variety, right? Better quality. Living standards of people is going to improve because they are now being able to enjoy more goods and services, maybe at competitive prices, improve quality, right? As a result, what would happen when living standards are rising? The level of poverty in an economy would fall. People would be better off. Higher incomes would be they would be earning, right? So when incomes level would rise, what would happen? They would have a higher disposable income. They would be spending more. And when they're spending more, what happens? The government would be earning more. So the tax revenue for the government, both in terms of direct and indirect taxes, would also be rising, right? So this means that the government would have even more funds to spend on infrastructure, the provision of merit goods, better healthcare, better sanitation, more education, right? And even on unemployment benefits, more on transfer payments. So this means again, people are going to be better off. Employment level would also be rising because if the firms are going to be experiencing a higher income, they would be expanding their production and they would be demanding more of labor. So the unemployment level would fall. And as a result, there would be an increase in the real GDP because overall the aggregate demand is rising. And it could also lead to higher exports. So the economy would be earning more of foreign exchange. It could also be that the current account balance of payment situation also improves. If it had been showing a deficit, the deficit could maybe move from a deficit scenario to a surplus, or maybe the size of the deficit could fall, right? So the employment level would increase and the exports would rise, right? Aggregate supply would also increase. And looking at this positive scenario, the expectations of this consumer might also rise and they would be getting good expectations regarding the performance of the economy or the country in future. As a result, spending would increase and they would be willing to invest. So this means economic growth would further lead to economic growth, right? And all this would actually increase the country's power and give a boost to an international prestige, right? So these are the merits of or the benefits of economic growth. I hope you understood. I'll be back with more such tutorials for you. Stay tuned, subscribe, happy learning. Take care.